Today we've got another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video for you. Specifically, we're going to be looking at a video in one of our newest series of videos called Tier Rankings. For those of you that watch us over on Twitch, you know how much we love tier rankings over there. All of the viewers will tell you guys that I have the absolute best takes when it comes to tier ranking. So we're going to be looking specifically here today at the GAC Omicrons and what we think they rank at. Let's get into it. All right, so first and foremost, folks, we're going to be taking a look here at the tier ranking itself. We're going to just go over the general tiers, what they mean, kind of how we go about figuring out what fits in here, what doesn't fit, just in general. So first and foremost, you guys can see we have this arranged kind of like we do over in GAC. We've got Kyber, we've got Rhodium, Chromium, Canada, that's a special. If you know, you know. We've got Bronzium, and then at the very bottom, folks, we've got Carbonite. So, basic rule of thumb with this is that Kyber is a total game changer when it comes to this Omicron. As soon as you put this Omicron on, immediately changes the character, immediately changes perhaps the entire team. It is that powerful. Rhodium typically is something that is very powerful, will either have a very, very, very large impact on the roster, like as in the team itself, or it is kind of transformative in that it makes that character individually extremely, extremely difficult to destroy or highly potent, that kind of thing. Chromium, basically this means that this is good. It functions well either on the character itself or with the team itself, but it's not necessarily a game-changing Omicron itself. Canada, we'll get into this a little bit. Canada's just kind of there. You don't hate it. You don't love it. It's just your friendly next door neighbor. Bronzium, basically Bronzium is sort of useful in very, very select instances, but overall not super great. And then, of course, we have the Carbonite tier, which is just straight up trash, essentially, guys. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at a couple of specific things here within this ranking itself. So, first and foremost, we're going to be starting off with... There it is. We're going to be starting off with the straight to Kyber tier, guys. So we have basically three characters here that have one Omicron only. And as soon as you apply this one Omicron only, it totally changes the roster, it totally changes the character, and it punches way up to the point where it can either take out GLs or it can take out teams that should be way, 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 way above it. We've got the Wampa unique, we've got the SWGOH unique. Both of those are uniques that just make these individual characters ridiculously good. In Wampa's case, obviously, he's able to solo a ton of different teams with his Omicron. All of you guys probably know who he is, what he does. It's just ridiculous. SWGOH, not quite as powerful from a solo standpoint. It does make him capable of soloing a lot of teams. But for him, it's more that he allows the Sith team that we're going to get to here in a second to really, really punch up and take on some high level teams. But he is very capable with this unique Omicron to be able to solo quite a few teams as well. Now, Traya, we have a little bit of a toss up. You see here, we're currently in the straight to Kyber tier, and we have a tier down here leading with a flush. We'll get to that in a second. You could argue that the Qui-Gon, or any of the ones in the leading with a flush, could sort of qualify for this tier. But Traya, I put up here more so because her her leadership is very transformative. Very much A tier minimum level, or a Rhodium, if you will, tier unique, or leadership. Sorry, guys. But when you throw SWGOH in that team with his unique as well, like I said, suddenly that Traya team is just able to punch up to a whole nother level. So really, all three of these incredible Omicrons, absolutely get them as soon as possible, folks. They are amazing. Our next tier that we have here is called 3 of a Kind. Now, this is going to be a wide span of different Omicrons here, folks. The reason we have 3 of a Kind is because all of these characters have 3 Omicrons. Some of them are amazing, some of them not so much. So we're going to start out with Third Sister, and Third Sister is actually going to be a little bit of a dual role here. She's actually going to kind of count as Dr. Aphra as well. I don't have Third Sister, unfortunately, or Dr. Aphra on my account, but they're both very similar in terms of their Omicrons and how they work in terms of a ranking. First and foremost, with both of these characters, the leadership is far and away the best Omicron. It is transformative for the roster, totally allows the roster to flourish and work very, very well, whether it's in 5s or in 3s, in this case with Aphra in particular. It really, the leadership far and away number one, absolutely Erodium tier, in some cases Kyber tier as well. With both of these characters, Aphra and Third Sister, really I would argue the special ability is kind of the next level of that. Arguably Erodium, perhaps Chromium, depending on who you might ask, kind of a situation. And then followed by their unique is really kind of the worst of the three. Not bad, guys. Not bad. To be clear, all of these Omicrons that we're talking about here on both Third Sister as well as Aphra are very quality Omicrons. You really wouldn't go wrong with them. But we definitely have a hierarchy between the three. The leadership is the number one, followed by the special, and then the unique really in third place there. Now, the next one we're going to look at is one of the newest characters that has come out, and that is Malachis. Malachis is a little bit different than both Third Sister and Aphra in that his uniques are both really, really high-end Omicrons. I would argue they're both Erodium pretty easily. They both completely allow his kit to work. They allow the team to work that he is with, which is going to be a Seer team most of the time, really. It's just a phenomenal, phenomenal set of Omicrons. If you have Malachis, you want both of them on here. You want both the uniques. I would argue that you do want the special too. The special doesn't take quite as much of a priority. For me, I'd say that special can probably go down to the Chromium level. It's good. It's definitely useful. You want it, but it's not a I must have it right now kind of Omicron. All right, moving on to Starkiller. Starkiller, kind of the same situation in that he has one Omicron that is phenomenal. That is his unique. There is much conflict in you. Absolutely, absolutely, you need to get it ASAP. It is a Kyber level Omicron. It is phenomenal, guys. I would argue that the Force Repulse, even though we have it in Chromium, I would actually personally, I really wanted to bump this up. I just felt like it was kind of hard to put special abilities in the Erodium unless it was a really top-notch kind of special. So the Force Repulse, my heart wants it to be an Erodium. We put it in Chromium though, but it's really good. You absolutely want to get it as soon as possible in my mind as well. The other one is the Boundless Force Throw, the special there. I have it. It's very good. It's just not an immediate need. You can kind of take your time on getting that one. But I would argue the unique and Force Repulse absolutely should be priorities if you are working on Starkiller. Next up, we've got Ben Solo. Ben Solo is kind of, in my opinion, a little bit more unique compared to the 3/4 characters we've looked at thus far. He has a bit more of a discrepancy in terms of the quality of his Omicrons. So first and foremost, he has a Force Dyad unique, which is absolutely a top tier, without a doubt, Omicron. You want to get that first. Very, very good Omicron. After that, Family Legacy, Obscured, my fault. Obscured, I would argue, is the next one that you want to get. It is very good. It's kind of like the Force Repulse, if you will, of Starkiller, where it's a very important Omicron. You want to prioritize it. You want to get it. It's not as essential as the Force Dyad one is, though. With this is the big one for C in particular. It's the heal immunity for 4 turns, guys. That's what really takes this to the next level. It makes it so it's really difficult for C to be able to take out Rey. The other one on this, the unique redeemed, I would argue is one. So all of the ones we've had thus far are ones that you should get, without a doubt. Maybe it's just not as high of a priority. This is one where it gets arguable that you shouldn't get this one. I got it because I love GAC. But if you were someone that kind of likes to split your Omicrons between TW and GAC, I would recommend not getting this one. It's just not that great. It's okay. It works. But... All right. Last but not least on the 3 of a kind list here, guys, we've got Darth Malgus. Darth Malgus kind of fits in the vein of the Aphra and Third Sister in that the leadership is far and away the most important. What's a little bit different about him, though, is that his unique is kind of the next important one and is worth going for, in my opinion. There's a lot of good that you can get from this. It basically allows doubt to be able to spread a lot faster. It's not essential, to be clear. It's not as important as like the Force Repulse is with Starkiller, or the special is with the Special Obscured is with Ben Solo. But it is good. It is worth getting, in my opinion. I would not wait on this and or not get it. However, exception to that rule, speaking of not getting it, would be Deprived Senses. His special here, I have it because, again, I just love GAC Omicrons. You could easily skip this one, guys. It is just not that great. Very, 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 very select uses. It almost never changes the outcome of your match. So if you're looking to skip one, this is definitely one to skip. All right, so that's our 3 of a kind tier that we've got here. Like I said, varying degrees of effectiveness and ranking with those 3 Omicrons that each of them have. The next level that we have here, leading with a flush, guys. Basically, this is where you take one Omicron, put it on that team, and poof, suddenly you have a really, really good team. We've got Qui-Gon in there, Dash in there, Iden and Radis. Notice I left out Seer for a second. I'm going to come back to her. All 4 of them, as soon as you apply this Omicron, suddenly you have a team that is very, very, very effective. They went from maybe C tier at best, all the way up even potentially to the A tier. It's that good of an Omicron to put on this team. These are, I would argue, some of the highest priority Omicrons for anyone that is looking to really punch up, because it transforms an entire team. Now, Seer, we have in this category, you could almost argue that she should bump up a level, because when you put Malachis on this team with his Omicrons as well, suddenly this Omicron has a little bit more value to it. To be clear, I'm not saying that her Omicron itself is that more valuable, but the team becomes that much more valuable. So remember, these Omicrons are all about transforming a team because of the leadership. And that's kind of what happens here. When you take Seer's Omicron and put that on her in combination with Malachis, it becomes an absolute S tier team. Very, very, very good. It's able to beat GLs, guys. This is one that if you have this team, if you have that unaligned Force user team up and running, you absolutely want to get those Omicrons on Seer and Malachis as fast as possible. All right, moving down to what we would kind of call our candidate tier, guys. This is just kind of okay. You'll notice I didn't really talk a whole lot about the Chromium tier outside of the 3 of a kind. That's mostly because they're usually abilities. They're either abilities that are good and worthwhile, not amazing, but good, or there are some occasional leaderships with like Chirpa, for instance, where it's good, it transforms the team, but it's not near the level of the leading with a flush. So with the pair tier here, guys, basically this is a situation where these Omicrons aren't bad, but you have to pair them with someone else or someone else's Omicron to make it worthwhile. So the example I'll give here, Princess Leia and Admiral Akbar are a perfect example. If you have both of their Omicrons on them, it's not a bad Omicron. It becomes kind of like a Chromium level, maybe a Rhodium. I don't know if I'd go that far, though. But by themselves, not very good. Asajj is kind of the same thing. She has potential with that Omicron, but if you pair hers with Marin, suddenly, yes, that becomes a much higher quality team. And that would move up into like the Erodium tier. I would argue that actually is an Erodium tier level pairing of Omicrons versus the Leia and Akbar. That's Chromium at best, probably, guys. Let's be honest here. Rose Tico, same situation. Rose is by herself, not very good. But when you pair her with Zori's Omicron, poof, oh my god, that team is scary. Like, straight up scary, guys. Pair her Omicron with that Omicron, and suddenly you've got yourself arguably an S-tier team, quite frankly. It's that good. That good. Darth Talon, kind of the same situation. You pair her with Malice, and it's sort of useful. Or Traya, sort of useful. It adds to the team in some instances to some degree. It's not quite as good as the Asajj or Rose Tico one, I would argue, just because it doesn't buff the team up quite as much. It's more on par with the Leia and Akbar Omicrons, I would argue. Again, they're all pretty much the same tier, but it's just a matter of how much the team benefits from those Omicrons itself. Last but not least, guys, Everyone and their uncle puts these 2 droids in the bottom, and I just felt like they needed a friend. so we put Krennic down there too, because he's terrible. All 3 of these Omicrons are absolutely trash. Do not get them. You'll notice I do not have them. You shouldn't either. They're horrendous. Without a doubt, the worst Omicrons in the game, folks. Ugh, ugh. It's like dirty dishwater bean boozled. Nobody likes that. Ugh. All right, guys. With that being said, well, you guys like that snowflake transition? With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our tier ranking. Like I said, if you guys like tier rankings, make sure you guys get over and check us out on Twitch on Saturday nights where we do our tier ranking streams over there, folks. Hopefully you guys liked today's video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And last but not least, check out the next video.